except through the law. We hear the commandments are abolished. We hear the commandments are finished. Now, some try to say, well, when you read about commandments in the New Testament, it's commandments of Jesus. It's the Son. It's the Son's commandments, not the Father's commandments. The Father's commandments done away. It's only the Son's commandments. But look at 1 John 5. 1 John 5 and verse 2. We know that we love the children of God. When we love God, and usually the reference of, when you hear God, except there's an explanation, it usually refers to the Father. When we love God and obey His commandments. So in the New Testament, we see that commandments are to be obeyed, and the Father's commandments. So don't go and say, well, the Son's commandments, no, love one another. No! Obey the Father's commandments. This is the love of God, that we keep His commandments, and His commandments are not burdensome or grievous. So, we're doing a serious study here today. Because I am not one now to blind my eyes to the text against my position. One of the things about my work, both as a preacher and as a journalist, and those of you who are acquainted with my work, especially in the print, in the Gleaner, you know that I am a man of fairness. I look at all sides. I don't just come from my position. Most of the preachers, when I hear them preaching about Sabbath, I used to just see them start and give a whole heap of text on their side. They don't acknowledge. They don't acknowledge that there are arguments on the other side from the same Bible. You would think everybody who don't keep Sabbath to eat yet. When a lot of learned, conscientious, good church people are Sunday keepers. They've studied the Bible and they have just disagreed with us. And we continue just quoting our text. So we must wrestle with the two sides. We see that positive passage. 1 John 2:3. 1 John 2. And by this we may be sure. Now, do you know the Lord? Do you know God? How do we know? How do we know that mouth makes me say anything? Nobody can say him love. The Bible gives its own definition of love expressed to God. 1 John 2:3. How can we be sure? By this we may be sure that we know Him, if we keep His commandments. Way down in the New Testament, you see that commandments are to be kept. Now, we can argue what I'm saying therefore. So don't go and say commandments abolished. You have to be more specific than that. You can't just make a general statement that commandment abolished. You can't make a general statement either that law abolished, because here Paul said we established the law. Here Paul said the law is spiritual. You have to do more study than that to show yourself approved. It go further, in verse 4. I know, miss it so. 1 John 2:4. He who says, I know Him, but disobeys His commandment is what? Me no want to call the word. Me don't want nobody, so me call them liar. I don't want to call the word. They are keeping malice with the truth. They are alienated from truth. They are keeping some vast distance from truth. But if I was to use the Bible, where the Bible says, they are liars. If you say you know Him and you don't keep the commandments, therefore it's a big issue. Therefore, now, the point of those texts, but not only that, when you go now in Revelation, when you go to the last day people, in Revelation 12 and verse 17, last book of the Bible now, man say commandments done from cross. Commandments done is pure grace, is pure faith. You have no commandments to keep, just love Jesus. Revelation 12:17. Then the dragon was angry with the woman, went off to make war with the remnant of her seed, on those who keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus. There is to be a people in the last days who keep the commandments and have the testimony. It's not me write this. It's about a long time. Revelation 14:12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are those who keep the commandments of God and have the faith of Jesus. Some people feel that you can't have both. That when you keep the commandments, you don't have faith of Jesus. If you have the faith of Jesus, you can't have commandments. You have both. Faith of Jesus and commandments. You can't do without either. And 1 John 3 said, what is sin? Lawlessness, or the transgression of the law, one translation puts it. Lawlessness. There is no law, lawlessness. And then you have, let's admit one thing. Some laws obviously abolished. We're not offering sacrifices anymore. Because sometimes when you hear some Sabbath keepers talk, and them all quote, that not one jot or one tittle will fall away and all that. When you hear some Sabbath keepers talk, it's like everything from the old covenant come back. Everything, because they feel like it's not much difference from the old covenant until now. It's not everything come right back on heart, Sometimes we say, well, it's written on your heart, no one is difference. We are not authorized to offer any sacrifices. We're not authorized with no circumcision. There are a number of things that were done under the old covenant that are not done now, not even by Sabbath keepers themselves. I'm here one. So when we talk about and a boast about law, we ourselves not keep all of them. I remember Galatians say, of course, if you don't keep her. So now, what am I doing? Condemning myself? The view has been held that, boy, you can't, we Sabbath keepers are cherry pickers. You pick out where you want Sabbath, and want others with land Sabbath and so on, we stop keep that. Offering the red heifer, we stop keep that. Offering turtle dove, we stop keep that, but we love Sabbath. I want to answer by 1 Corinthians 7:19. I want to show you that this view, which was held by my good friend Chisholm, when I debated him back in the 90s, down at Tarrant Baptist Church, about 1995, when I debated him at Tarrant, and him sell the tape all over Jamaica. And he was putting forward the view that, boy, you can't keep one part of law and don't keep the rest. Well, of course, that is fatal to him. Because there's no Christian I know not believing in any part of the law. It's even the one against adultery and against stealing and killing. We don't want to know the church reach a point where the church people are teaching you can't kill. Not in Jamaica where we have such a big crime problem. 1 Corinthians 7:19 establishes an important principle. It says, neither circumcision counts for anything, nor uncircumcision, but the keeping of the commandments of God. What I tell you, say, it's a very important principle. Let me just read it, in case you miss it. It says circumcision is nothing but the keeping of the command. What it means, say, you can keep, it is legitimate that some parts of the law can continue and some parts abolish. So don't come and establish any hermeneutical principle that, boy, you can't keep one part and not keep the rest. Paul establishes as a principle the legitimacy of keeping a part, which means that we have to do some work. We have to do some serious exegetical work now with people lazy. You have to do work to find out which part to keep and which part done. You can't just come and talk about law generally. The law done. You have to find out which laws are done. Because remember, one thing all of us as Christians agree on, some laws done. No matter who you is, Sabbath man, I get up and I reel up. Him don't keep our laws. In fact, the Seventh-day Adventist